guts to go to the British and say, I don't hate you, I hate your sin, but not you. He followed Christ's dictum, hate the sin, but not the sinner. Separate the person from his sins, separate the person from his negative qualities, and you have no problem whatsoever. Drudgery becomes revelry. Even now, when there is a wedding in the family, all the members of the larger family, the cousins and not even immediate family, the extended family, they all get together for the work. There is a lot of work involved in organizing a wedding, and they get together, they work hard, they meet every evening, they stay up late at night, but it is all done in a feeling of, in an atmosphere of fun, camaraderie. And more than the wedding itself, after it's all over, they look back to the hard work that they put in, the late night sessions that they had, and the fun and laughter that went into it. But it was hard work. You've all experienced that, right? No? That is what it is. So what makes it fun, even though it is hard work? Because at least temporarily, you think your differences come together. Right? Why can't you do it all the time? Why do you have to wait for a wedding to come together? That's the thing. Drudgery becomes revelry. In university, where they have to do collective project work, so the members of one team get together to work very hard for that project. Again, they have to keep up late nights, they have to do a lot of research, they have to do a lot of hard work. But it's all done in an atmosphere of fun, laughter, goodwill. And that is what they remember at the end of it all, not what marks they got for the project. Drudgery, when you feel one, drudgery becomes revelry. When you feel separate, even a fun event becomes stressful. You are successful when you feel one, because everyone else, you have the capacity, the power to inspire others with your love. Just the fact that you care for them. And they give of their best. You see this even in animals. If you enter a person's home who has a dog, a pet dog, and there is a party there, so many guests come. You see the pet dog and his reaction to different people. If you happen to be a dog lover, you just enter the house, you don't even know that there is a dog there. And the dog comes rushing to you and jumps at you and licks you and showers his affection on you. Such tremendous effect this love has. And if a person who dislikes dogs enters, the dog first growls and then comes running towards the person and barks. As it is, this person dislikes dogs, and on top of that, he's afraid of dogs. It becomes a very, very unpleasant experience. Now, what you need to understand is, how does the dog understand who's a dog lover and who's a dog hater? It just shows. And how much more must it be with human beings? So you can't fake it. You can't pretend. You can't sweet talk your way through people. You have to genuinely feel for them. That's the only way. There's no other way. And when you genuinely feel, you don't need to swear love to them all the time. It's not like the Westerners where they ask them, how many times have you said I love you to your husband? Arre? You don't need to say 25 times. You don't need to say at all. Just the fact that you love is enough. It makes for happiness. There are old parents here who live an ordinary middle-class life. And their children have gone to the US and done very well for themselves. So the father here, living in very modest home, sits there and brags, oh, my son has a 6-bedroom house and he has a Mercedes, he has this, that and the other. You have the capacity of enjoying the comforts, the success of others also. Modern life has programmed us to feel happy only when good things happen to us, right? So you buy a new car, you buy a new home, you're happy. But if your neighbor buys a new car or wins a lottery for 1 crore, how do you feel? Burning, you get heartburn. Because you're full of jealousy and negativity. Now try this. If your neighbor wins a lottery of 1 crore and you celebrate from the bottom of your heart, you are so happy, even if he doesn't give you a party. If he keeps all of it to himself also. Feel happy because you just feel one with him. Extend that. Extend that and feel one with your community. Feel one with the country. Feel one with the whole world. Feel one with all beings. And then you have no enemies whatsoever, no stress. Your happiness increases. And you grow into a towering personality. Because what gives you happiness is to fulfill other people's likes and dislikes, other people's desires, to cater to other people. And so your desires go down and you go up the spiritual ladder. That's the most important aspect of this oneness. So how do you achieve this oneness? First, find out what is it that I've identified with. Most of us will say body. So if you've identified with your body, you experience maximum separateness. You're only obsessed with my fitness, my health, my moods. Oh, I'm in a bad mood. And I'm in a good mood. You're oblivious of your duties towards others. You're oblivious of other people's well-being. It's just me all the time. When you identify with the mind, you feel one with the family. Whoever you are relating to, whoever you feel one with, it's a wonderful feeling. At least within that area, you don't feel threatened. Identify with your intellect, you feel one with the country. You've actually seen that. You know, when India won the World Cup, there are Indians all over the world. So the whole world was celebrating India's victory. And when you identify with Atman, there is total oneness. You don't feel a sense of separateness with anybody. And therefore, all people who have reached that state of realization are viewed by normal human beings as almost mad because they are so full of cheer and happiness and mirth and mischief. That feeling of oneness they have with others is so intense that we or normal people don't understand it, and they call such people mad. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was one such person who has realized the self, and his treatment of Swami Vivekananda was such that people used to call him mad. Not just him, everyone. A sweeper who was a Shudra, in those days they were not allowed to enter temples. And Ramakrishna never left the temple. So this sweeper felt, what a pity, I'm dying to meet Ramakrishna and I can't meet him. So when Ramakrishna came to know about it, he felt so bad that the custom of the country was such that certain people were not allowed, were kept aside. And to make up for that prayashchit, what he did was, in the dead of night, he went to the sweeper's house and cleaned his bathroom for him as an act of repentance for not himself, for the whole of society. See, such things are viewed as madness, but that feeling of oneness is so intense that it almost pains such people to have any alienation from others. Then this is something we have never experienced because we are so deeply rooted in a sense of separateness. You must first of all identify that and break it down. For instance, after this session is over, when you go out, if there is traffic, every auto rickshaw fellow is I hate him. Every other car is a competitor. What do you expect? In a city like Mumbai, you expect your car to be the only car on the streets? It's nice to have a bustling city full of people. That is what lends the charm to this city. Otherwise, you might as well be in a village where nothing happens, nothing moves. So, no otherness. You're in a state of constant revelry when you identify with Atman. Now, one of the most important things that you need to learn as far as emotions are concerned is attachment. Attachment means in a relationship, you say, I love you, but really you are not the person that I love. The person I love is only myself. And you are only a convenience. You cater to me in some way, materially, physically, emotionally, intellectually. And therefore, because of the return that I get from you, I say, I love you. So this is called attachment. Attachment is love plus selfishness. You feel for the person, but there's so much selfishness in it that it ruins the whole thing. So in attachment, where in any relationship that you have, there are expectations, there are demands that you make on the person, there are conditions that you impose on the person. And when all of these are not met with, there is bitterness, there is quarrel and separation and divorce. This is the singular reason why divorce rates are going up. And it's not just the people who are divorced who are attached. The others, they gulp their misery and continue. Detachment, on the other hand, is where there are no expectations. And this detachment springs from the fact that you are self-sufficient. This is a wonderful quality to cultivate, where you say, I am content with myself. I'm self-sufficient. I don't need anything from you. So you may be self-sufficient, but you, out of that sense of self-sufficiency, you establish relationships with people, but you're not dependent on the people. You're not leaning on the people. And therefore, there are no expectations. You are equally happy whether the wife is pleasant to you or nasty to you. You are equally happy whether the husband is with you or has gone off on a tour. But when you're attached, what happens? When the spouse is with you, you cannot enjoy the company because you're constantly cribbing and complaining about something or the other. And when the spouse has gone out of town, then you miss. That is why the telecom industry is doing so well. Especially roaming. Everybody has roaming because most of the calls made are when you're roaming. Why? Attached. When you're sitting with the spouse, husband and wife sitting together, both are talking to somebody else on their cell phones. The only time they talk to each other is when one of them goes out of town. So that's why the roaming charges are so high. If only you develop the capacity to enjoy the company of the person thoroughly, fully, when he or she is with you. And when the person is away, you enjoy the absence. Oh, what I mean is, not that you're happy the person is gone, but you're equally happy whether the person is there or not. Yeah? That is detachment. You're happy both ways. Now, detachment or attachment is not physical, it is mental. So don't go home and say, I need to keep a distance from you. I want to be detached. No. Detachment is mental. It means no dependence on the other person. And yet you have a wonderful relationship. You give of yourself entirely, 100% of yourself you give. Sarva bhavena, your heart and soul you give to people. But you're not dependent on them. Therefore, there are no expectations, there are no demands, there are no conditions. You say, I love you the way you are, with the pluses and the minuses. Even if you're a hysterical person, I love you. Then how to deal with hysterical people is a different matter. So, now, what you need to remember is, wherever you are attached, the first thing that happens is you suffer. And all of us are suffering in our relationships because of attachment. You may not openly say it, because you can't afford to say it. But the truth is, all of us are suffering in our relationships. And two, when this attachment goes out of hand, you actually lose the person. When I say lose the person, I don't mean death. I don't even mean a divorce. I mean, the person gets so fed up of you, he just switches off. In most couples, that is the matter. That is why you have to celebrate the wedding anniversary every year. The greater the vigor with which you celebrate the anniversary, the more you have lost the spouse. True. See, in the past, they did not need to celebrate wedding anniversaries because every day was an anniversary. Every day they were thrilled with the other person. Now there's only disgust. So at least once a year, and that too the day before, the wife reminds the husband, tomorrow is our anniversary, so no fighting tomorrow. And by the time 10 a.m. comes, they've already fought. So attach, you suffer; attach, you lose. You detach and you enjoy the company of the person. When you're detached, you gain. The other person simply adores you, loves you to death. When the person is present, you enjoy the company. When the person is absent, you enjoy the absence. That is detachment. So even to understand it is so difficult. Practicing it is a far cry. When the mind is greater than the intellect, it is the mind that gets attached. How do you get attached? We are all attached, so you should know that. Thought, correct. Constant thinking. When you constantly think of a person, you get attached to that person. And then you've had it. Then all the suffering starts. So it is the mind that gets attached. It's the intellect that has the capacity to watch your thoughts and to rein in your thoughts. So when the intellect is greater than the mind, only then do you have a chance of being detached. Therefore, use your intellect, develop the intellect, strengthen the intellect. This message you must be committed to. And you must spread this message to others. Buddhi nashat pranashyati, and all of us are suffering because of complete loss of intellect. Arjuna suffered. Fortunately for him, he had Krishna as his charioteer and a dear friend who pulled him out of his stupor. But you and I don't even have that. Now we have. These 5 days we have Krishna's valuable advice. Therefore now, how to detach? We know how we have got attached. How did we get attached? Constant thinking. How to detach? Stop thinking. Now if you tell yourself, you don't know your mind. Tell your mind to do something, it will do just the opposite. So suppose you say, I must stop thinking of my grandchild. Then you'll think more of the grandchild. So that doesn't help. Technically it's correct. In order to stop thinking, what must you do? Think of something higher. Get attached to the higher, only then you will get detached from the lower. This is the law. When you're climbing a ladder, your foot must be firmly established in the upper rung, only then you can let go of the lower rung. Otherwise, you come crashing down. So therefore, find out what is your circle of love right now. Most of us will say, I only love myself, of course, my wife, my children, that's it. Beyond that, I don't see anyone. Extend. Make a conscious effort to extend your circle of love and go beyond to maybe the larger family, community, nation, humanity, the whole world. So it must be done in bits and pieces. Find out where you are and stretch a little bit more. And then when you get to that, the highest, which is Atman, chapter 6 of the Gita says that. What is the test of development? Verse 29, he says, such a person sees the self in all beings and all beings in the self. This is a very clinical way of looking at it. Then in the next verse, he says, such a person sees himself in all beings and all beings in himself. Means it's a very personal thing. It's an experience. And the third verse, he says, such a person worships me in all beings. You must reach that state. Where, see, worship is not to be done only in a temple, church or mosque. Every living being, not just human beings, should be viewed as a manifestation of God, and so it's viewed worshipfully. Your approach to everything in life is worshipful. What a wonderful state to be in. So for now, we move on to verses 28 and 29.